In the words of the great Mills Lane of Celebrity Deathmatch, let's get it on!
Oh my God.
The NBA's play-in tournament, it's set, Jesse Cofield. A lot of star power. It starts tonight. Nets and Cavs. The winner will advance to face the Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics sneaking by without having to play that.
Sneaky, sir.
Sneaky. The other game tonight pairs Timberwolves, Clippers in the West. Hawks, Hornets go tomorrow, as do the Pelicans and Spurs.
Yeah. Welcome to The Sweat, everybody. Alongside Jesse Cofield, I am Emerson Latzia. So today's show, I'm not kidding you when I say this, it is historic because we have our own play-in tournament going down. This is huge. I know there's dozens of us here who are very excited about
Yeah, so
this.
4 analysts, a pair of head-to-head battles. We're going to ask 5 questions in each matchup. Each question has a numerical answer, right?
Okay.
So the analyst who gets it right or is the closest to the correct answer is going to get the point. So most points after 5 questions moves on.
They get to basically advance to do more work. So we totally expect a few of these guys to actually be taking on purpose.
Don't do that.
Like lazy Julian Edlow, one of our DraftKings contributors, and also Nick Friar. This is a heavyweight affair here, Flannel Friar. All right, this is the first question. You ready? Here we go. How many Twitter followers does Kevin Durant have, Jules?
Oh, my God. 1.2 million.
Okay, Nick?
What is 1.5 million?
All right.
Okay, you're both so far off.
Way off, but Nick was
Nick
was
wins.
the closest.
It's 19.7 million.
So, okay.
19.7 million?
Yeah!
Yep, it certainly is. Next question.
Nikola Jokic is in line to win his 2nd straight MVP award. He also averaged the most DraftKings fantasy points of any player this season. So how many DK points did the big man average, Nick?
I'm going to say 58.7.
Julian?
What was it?
Okay, so Nikola Jokic.
No. What was your answer? 58?
You said
No, don't tell him. No, you weren't listening.
It was 58.7.
Okay, yeah. 59.
See, that's why I didn't want you to tell him.
Dude.
Julian wins. Julian wins.
What do you know?
Because it was
This is under
61.2.
protest.
I mean, listen. This is when, yes, it was.
You knew, I was either going to tank or I'm going to cheat. So I'm going to try and cheat.
Oh
Yeah,
my
Thank you for helping him, you guys.
If you watch The
Appreciate it.
Price
The
is
fix
Right.
in.
All right,
That's
we're not gonna help Julian anymore by repeating anything.
All right, here we go.
Too late. The damage is done.
On
All
the
right,
DK,
I'll try and listen.
All right,
on the
you're
DK,
tied.
here we go, guys. You are tied 1-1 right now. On the DK Sportsbook, the highest game total this season was between the Timberwolves and the Rockets on April 3rd. What was that number, Nick?
Oh, okay. It's me again.
You're
All right.
going to
I'm
Nick
gonna
first. You just know.
Wait,
Julian.
Julian first. Winner will go. Yep, that's right. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Sorry.
242.5.
Nick?
243.5.
Oh, my God. I hate this. I hate the way this is
come
playing
on.
out.
Nick wins.
Nick wins. It was
I was
two-
going to say 245 beforehand originally, but
Okay, well, you would have
won.
won. Yeah.
It was 246.5. I believe 139, 132 combined 271 points. I think that was an overtime game too.
Okay, question 4. Joel Embiid became the first 76er to win the scoring title since Allen Iverson in 04-05. How many scoring titles did Iverson win in his career? We're going to start with Nick.
I'm going to say 3. Yeah, 3.
Well, it's not more than 3, so it's 2.
Wait.
It's 4!
It is 4. Yeah, wow, Jules.
So
I thought it was 3. I thought it was 2 or 3, but so I wasn't going to go 4.
You know
I
what?
had to go under.
Okay, here we go.
final question.
Yeah, largest favorite on the DraftKings Sportsbook this season, guys, was the Jazz over Portland on March 9th. What was the Utah money line, Nick?
I'm going to say 18.5.
That's not a money line.
That's, yeah,
but,
money
okay.
line,
Oh,
money
money line,
line,
sorry, I'm
money
thinking
line.
All right,
Oh,
no,
whatever,
you
yeah.
got to stick to that.
That's
Yeah,
all right. I won anyways. You
Yeah,
lost to an
Jules,
idiot. How you feel about that?
You could literally answer any, like you could say anything and almost
Yeah,
win
you
this.
can't win,
Yeah,
Julian.
like minus 2,800.
Oh, that was close. Minus 3,300.
Totally spaced
But
out there.
Nick
wins.
wins.
Nick had 3 dubs. You had 2, Jules. So you're
Yeah.
tanking. It actually really worked out in your favor because now you don't have to do any more work in this show.
Yeah, The embarrassing part is that I didn't tank. I actually cheated to try and win it.
You can't even cheat properly.
Yeah.
And I gave a spread pick over
No.
money line, and you still lost.
You
I'm pretty
fraud.
bad.
Yeah.
All right, so
Bye.
Nick, hang out. Yeah, Jules, I guess, enjoy the rest of your
Yeah.
day. 3 minutes of work.
Nets and Clippers tonight. There's my analysis.
Okay, awesome. Nick, hang out because you are going to play the winner here between DraftKings contributor Matt
Can I at least
Meiselman.
watch?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. I know
right.
you like to do that.
Great.
And Rotowire's Nick Whalen. So this is our second plan. Let's go with the first question, dudes. Winning Time is a popular show on HBO right now about Jerry Buss purchasing the Lakers and creating the dynasty of the 80s. How much did Buss pay for the team in 1979? Nick.
I'm going to say he paid, $10 million.
Meiselman.
Ooh, I have not watched this yet, so this is a good start for me. I will go with $13 million.
All right, you're both, again, way off, but you were closer, Meiselman. $67.5 million.
Yeah.
It's now worth $4.6 billion, seventh most valuable sports franchise out there.
All right, guys.
I have questions about that valuation.
Yeah.
You guys are not very good at numbers.
A lot of questions. Okay, question 2. So tonight on the 2-game play in Slate, KD going to cost you $12K to roster. That is not, however, the highest salary on a slate this season. So what was the highest salary on a DK NBA slate during the regular season? Matt, what do you think?
Okay, so I just need the number. I don't need the player, right?
No, just a number.
I'll go 12,800.
Nick?
I will say 13,800.
It is 12,600. So
Wait a
Matt's on a roll. He just took the
How
second
does that,
one.
well, are we doing is it closest without going over? Producer
No,
slates?
no.
We're just going to say closest. Okay,
No.
then no one will get a point. All right, great. All right.
All right.
I just,
You're just going to ask that in the middle of the game? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't just already have
Don't
an
you love
entire...
making up your own rules as you go along?
Question
Highest-
3.
All right, so, dude, wow. Okay, Matt, off to a hot start. Highest spread on the DraftKings Sportsbook. It happened twice this season. Both Dallas and Utah were heavy favorites in games against Portland. What was that spread, Matty?
I will go with 21.5.
Nick?
And that's pretty much right what I was going to say as well. I'm gonna go slightly under. I'll go 20.5.
All right,
All right,
Nick!
Nick!
Nick with his first dub!
It
Could
was
be a
19
28-3
1/2.
comeback here, baby. Let's go.
There we go. There we go.
All right, guys. Warriors guard Jordan Poole had the highest free throw percentage in the league this year.
Dang.
Nick, what was it?
I will say he was at 92.4%.
Matt,
Okay.
what do you
I
think?
have a problem. I have a problem here because that's the answer. So can I pick it also? Like, this is the right answer. That's how confident I am in Nick's guess.
Okay,
I'm gonna
it's-
also go with 92.4.
It's 92.5, but we'll give it to you both.
Yeah, I mean, I think we may have rounded up on that one, just to keep it simple.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
yeah.
Could I pick 92.41? Is that allowed?
Well, no, we just told you the answer, so you
Yeah, I
can't.
don't know. I think what
We're gonna give it to you
no,
both.
No, I think we give it to Nick. That way it comes
So I'm
down
going
to
for the
this.
tie?
I'm giving it to Nick since he answered it first, and that way it's 2-2, and that way it all comes down to this last question.
Okay.
Wow,
Wait,
I
wait,
am
wait.
sweating. My
To
pits
To
are
be
moist.
clear,
Julian and do the
You have
opposite
to
of
go to
cheating
Matt
and
first
just
on
be
this
as
next
honest as
question.
possible.
Okay.
Because you've been messing that up.
All right, sounds good. Tied at 2. Matt, you will answer this last one first. A lot of pressure. Maverick star Luka Doncic here. He set new career highs in points, assists, and rebounds this year, but also led the league in turnovers per game. How many did he average, Mr. Meiselman?
We don't talk about turnovers. These are not prop bets that we ever care about. So
Exactly. We're
I'm
trying to
gonna go
mess you
with-
up.
4.6.
All right, Nick. Wow, this is it.
Good
This is
guess.
the future of your career right here.
It really is. It really is. And it's fitting. As a high turnover player myself in pickup games, I empathize with Luka here. I'm going to go 4.4.
Wait a minute! All right, Slate, you got to drop like a tiebreaker in because. All right, who's second? Who's second?
Okay, but you got to let Nick,
Nick, answer first. Nick, who was second?
Okay, you guys both got that
Hold
one.
on. Just to be clear, we have 2 ties.
No, dude.
No, because we're asking another question now.
Yes, exactly.
And you guys didn't guess the
The
same.
answer was 4.5 there. Okay?
Yeah.
One of you went one up, one of
So
you
he
one down.
just edged out somebody who was averaging what, Nick?
Well, give
we
us
need
the
to name
name
the player or
first.
the
All right,
number?
it was James Harden.
James Harden.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we need to say the number. All right. 4.2 then.
Matt?
4.3.
Oh, Matt gets
my
it. It was
God.
4.4. That was good.
I am on the edge of my
Wow.
rolly
Oh,
chair.
I know.
That was
know.
incredible.
I mean, that was an excellent game. The competition.
That one was
on
so
the edge
much
of my
better than the
seat.
first one. That's
Yeah.
just what's great when two people try, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just like it was only Friar like
Yeah.
trying the first time. Okay, so Nick, I guess that's it. A for effort. Meiselman,
All right.
you versus Friar right now.
But
now it's
it's
just
you
a
guys
play-in
just get
preview.
to do more work. Now you're on our play-in preview panel. Woo!
Now this will
You did it!
This will be like when you give real information now that people at home will be listening to. Okay.
God, how can we
Let's
just
play
do the
against the
show
Suns and
after
the
the
Grizzlies
excitement
now.
of that? I just
know.
want to leave.
I'm gross. Like I'm so sweaty right now.
Oh man.
All right, here we go. So Cleveland and Brooklyn, guys, they're going to kick things off at 7 Eastern time. Both these teams finishing with identical 44 and 38 records. So when it comes to DFS, as we've mentioned earlier, Kevin Durant's going to cost you 12 grand on this 2-game slate. Probably a must-have in your winning lineup, but like, what's your strategy going to be here, Friar?
Well, when I'm looking at this Cleveland-Brooklyn game, I mean, in general, we're looking at this slate, and you're playing the main contest. You're going to have to have two of the stars, and from either of these games, there's Darius Garland, of course, in this game as well, and Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie's actually the guy that I want to go with tonight. You're going to be able to save a little bit at 10.7K versus KD. And you know, with him, I know he logged 41 DK fantasy points against Cleveland last time out, but they're going to have to tighten up along the perimeter. Cleveland is, if they're going to have a chance at contending in this game, which means you're going to have Kyrie and KD creating some semblance of offense. Of course, the stars show up in this, and Kyrie is against his old team too. I think he's going to want to send a message just as much as KD, even more so because it's his old team. So Kyrie's a guy that I like in this one, and if you're looking for a pay down option, I think that Kevin Love in that mid-range at 6K is the guy that I like among those bigs.
Okay, Maddie, how do you approach this?
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm happy to be here with Nick in the playoffs.
Yeah, congratulations.
I do think that this is going to be a slate where people use a stars and scrubs build because there are some value plays to like, and there's a lot of high-level expensive players. So I think in the mid-range, Kevin Love is a good call. Andre Drummond might be my preferred option there because I do actually think people are going to play Nick Claxton, who might be the go-to value play for most people on this slate. So Drummond gets you leverage off Claxton. If Drummond's playing well, if the game is close, then we probably see less of Claxton and more of Drummond. So it's hard to pick between Durant and Kyrie and Towns and George. I think they're all good options. But in the mid-range, I do think that Drummond is the guy who just gets way overlooked at 6,500. He's a little too expensive. So I might actually start my lineups with him.
All right, let's talk about this Cleveland-Brooklyn game. The Nets, 9.5-point favorites. Nets won 3 of 4 meetings between these teams this year by an average of about 8.5 points. So, Matt, what's your favorite bet tonight?
So I think the Celtics are going to handle the Nets fairly easily once they play them. But for tonight's game, I am going to go with the Nets. Even at minus 9.5, which is a point higher than this line open, I still think the Nets are able to handle this game pretty easily. The Cavs I don't think are a good team without Jared Allen. Like, this is their best player. I know Darius Garland's had a great season, but Allen was really the thing holding them together defensively. Evan Mobley can kind of do that, but I think they needed both of them. And then Allen is a good offensive player too, and having to rely on Kevin Love and Lauri Markkanen for offense is going to hurt them defensively. So I just think Allen gives them the best of both worlds when he's on the court. They don't have him. I think the Nets are a much better team. So to me, this line should be like 11 or 12, and it's just a little bit too low.
All right, Nick, what's your favorite bet in this one tonight?
So I am going to get a little cute with this one when we talk about Evan Mobley a little bit. I always look for his blocks props throughout the course of the season. He's obviously got a ton this year. My pick for rookie of the year when you're talking about him versus Cade Cunningham. And when over 2 blocks per game this season, he's had 36 of his 69 starts. He had at least 2 blocks. I actually want to parlay that with the Nets winning this straight up on the money line. If you like the points, by all means, go ahead and add that too. It's only going to help the bet. But I think taking the Nets to win, going with Evan Mobley here in his 2 games back since he had that little layoff for injury and resting and everything, 2 blocks, then 4 blocks. One of those games was against the Nets. The Nets are 21st in opponents' blocks per game this season. If you want to go with the Mobley bet straight up because you don't want to have to root for the Nets, I understand that too. You're just going to get a much better payout if you go and back the Nets as well.
Yeah, just something to note. Most bet player prop tonight is the Kevin Durant over 31.5 points.
Okay, that's cool. Let's go to the second game tonight. Let's start on the DFS side like we did with the first one. Clippers visiting Minnesota in the second play-in game. Winner gets the 7 seed. We'll play Memphis. So Karl Anthony Towns, the most expensive player from that game, at 10-3. How are you looking to approach this matchup from a DFS perspective, Nick?
I think that where you got to start things off is with Paul George. And I understand playoff P. I understand people want to mock him, but there was a time where this guy was pretty tough in the postseason. It didn't matter who he was going up against. And I still think that we can see that guy tonight. Of course, this is a pace-up matchup for him. And we've seen him do a little bit of everything since he's returned. This is what he rested for. This is not necessarily the play-in game specifically, but the postseason. So I have no problem backing him tonight. And one other thing that also leans me toward a bet that we'll talk about in a second related to Paul George, Minnesota gave the fourth most rebounds to opposing shooting guards this season and the 5th most assists to opposing shooting guards during the regular season too.
Okay, Matt, what do you want to do here?
Well, I think I'm going to go pretty far off the board and pick Naz Reid and not Karl Anthony Towns as a center choice. I just think Towns, being only a little more expensive than George, but probably a better fantasy player, and then much cheaper than the guys on Brooklyn, I think he ends up being the most popular player on the slate. And there are a lot of ways that Towns can have a bad game. I mean, blowout is the obvious one, but this game should be close. So that's not really what I'm looking for here. But Karl Anthony Towns gets in foul trouble all the time. And yes, this could be a game where he stays in with more fouls than you'd be comfortable with because it is kind of a must-win game. But it isn't really. These teams could lose and then still go on and win their next game. But either way, like Towns getting in foul trouble does happen from time to time. And Naz Reid will essentially play any minute that Karl Anthony Towns is not on the court. So I think from a leverage perspective, this is the spot. I think really it's 2 centers. Drummond, who I mentioned before, over Claxton. You can pay above Claxton to get Drummond. And then I think here you can pay down from Towns to Reid. Because if something happens to Towns, an injury or just foul trouble, Reid is the guy who benefits very, very directly, and I just don't think anyone's playing him. So this is purely a tournament play, but I really do like Naz Reid for leverage for this game.
Another fun sports betting fact for tonight. Third most popular prop, Paul George over 7.5 rebounds, plus 115. Nick, I think you were alluding to that.
Not specifically that bet, but along those lines. Paul George to get a double-double tonight is actually the one I like most. I think it's plus 240 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Had a double-double last time out, third with a triple-double in that game as well. I think he came like a rebound or 2 short in that, but got 12 assists. The game before that, he had 9 rebounds too. This is a guy who's going to want to do it all in this one because he kind of has to if they're going to go and win this game. And as I mentioned earlier, Minnesota has given up a lot of rebounds to opposing shooting guards this season and a lot of assists. So he can do it in multiple ways, 2 ways, and that's what you need in this kind of situation. I think Paul George is really going to try and do as much as he can to push his team over this one. So backing him to get a double-double is the easiest way to go tonight.
All right, Maddie, what about you? What's your favorite bet in this one?
I'm sort of on the same page here. Different player, but the same theme. So I like Reggie Jackson's rebounds prop. And Nick talked about the Wolves rebounding versus guards. I guess that would help Jackson too. And I'm not even sure that you can classify Jackson point guard, George shooting guard, or vice versa. Like they both kind of handle the same role. But I think really what we're going to see from the Clippers is the key players playing more minutes than normal. And Reggie Jackson hasn't reached 4 rebounds in a game in like 3 weeks now. But the Clippers were also really cautious with the minutes of their starters for a long period of time. And earlier in the season, Jackson was going over 3.5 rebounds very regularly. So I think we could see 35 to 40 minutes out of Jackson and probably even more than that from Paul George, because at the other positions on this team, the Clippers have a lot of depth. The backcourt is where they don't really have it. And I think we see Jackson and George play the vast majority of this game. The Wolves are a high-paced team. There should be a lot of stats to go around. So I do think Jackson goes over 3.5 rebounds, probably playing 36 or more minutes.